I want to thank you, Mr. Glenn, for being here for 2 or 3 years he was here. He did a good job with us, even though he helped us and we helped you learn a lot about this city. And I want you to appreciate helping with working with my cousin Gary and Maine, get their license, because we need young people out here. I'm getting old, I'm ready to go. But I'm going to stick around till I retire just like you did, Mr. Glenn.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. I just want to say, Mr. Glenn, and being the other director on the other side of you, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm going to miss you every morning. Usually Mr. Glenn comes in and sits down first thing when he gets here, and me and him kind of catch up on what we're going to do for the day and share a joke or two. And Miss Tammy asked me the other day, she said, are you going to carry on Mr. Glenn's jokes? And Mr. Glenn told her, said, well, you just don't know. You need to see us both together. So I do want to tell everybody, this man has really brought a lot to Mexico Beach. I can tell you now, his heart was in everything he done out here. He carried no grudges. He done what he felt was the best for the city of Mexico Beach. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna miss you, Mr. Glenn. Thank you, Council.
Once again, Glenn, you're gonna be around, I guess, the rest of the day, because you're not getting any time off. So we're until 5, so if anyone wants to talk to Glenn, feel free to do that. All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna get and move on to the agenda. And the first thing on the agenda is obviously the minutes. And before we even get going on them, it brought to my attention that there's several areas that need to be changed on the 23 minutes. So we're gonna get and table them until the next meeting, and we'll add them on there, if you don't mind. Thank you. Everybody okay with that? Good. The next thing on the agenda is the data flow alarm system amendment. The city administrator?
Yes, sir. Thank you. As you all know, back in May, the city council did approve $128,000 for the data flow alarm system. We all know that one of the reasons we do have spills in some of our lift stations around town is because our alarm system our present one isn't working all that well. So hats off to the council for going forward on that back in May. But it was discovered that that quote was missing the MX1, which is our main lift station, and the water plant. Once that was discovered, we had to go back and readjust the bottom line. So the bottom line now, instead of $128,000, it's $155,977, which means that's an increase of $27,977. So we would like for the city council to amend the budget and approve that additional funding.
I would like to hear why. I'm sure the citizens would like to hear why. I mean, how this happened, did we not get the quote, was the quote not added, what exactly happened?
Mr. Glenn, could you address?
There were two main.
You mind coming up, Glenn? I'm sorry. You only have to do a couple more of those off and you'll be done.
There's a couple items that were left off of the initial quote. Two of the main items, one of them being the water plant, ground storage, the SCADA, everything controlling the water, pressures, flows. We can monitor it remotely. The other one was MX1, which is our big master lift station on Canal Parkway. Those were inadvertently left off.
How are they left off? I mean, did we have a sales guy we were working with, the guy that checked the project out or anything, or how?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fredton was working with the staff at that time here.
He's the guy at Data Flow?
Yes.
Okay. Is he the one that gave us the quote?
Yes, sir.
And he knew that we needed those things?
No, sir.
He did not.
He had not been given all the information.
We didn't give him all the information, or he didn't give us all the information?
The city did not provide all the information.
Okay. Did we have that discussion with him that we missed some information on there? Or?
After the fact, after the bid, it came in and everything, made aware of, kind of left in the dark on that a little bit.
Are these the option types items, or are these items you need to do the whole thing?
MX1 and the water plant are not optional. They need to be in there. They're two crucial components of our water and wastewater system.
Obviously, we need to hear from the council, but personally, I mean, that's, if it was a sales guy, I mean, I've worked with salespeople and bring them in, that's why you bring them in. They tell you exactly what you need, you have a conversation, go back and forth, and you add options afterwards.
Yes, sir.
This was not an option, this was a need,
Yes, sir.
and we missed it. It's not good. Any comments here, council? Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions. So what is the total amount? Because it says increase plus shipping, so does that 155,977 include shipping? What is the total amount we're being asked to approve?
We were told that the shipping will not be additional.
Okay, so so you're asking us to approve $27,977?
That is correct.
And then, it looks like Data Flow is the sole source provider.
Yes, sir.
So this is the lowest quote, there's no other.
There was no other quotes.
Okay, all right, and then, kind of what the mayor was alluding to, have we put some kind of measure in place so that we don't have a reoccurrence of this sort of thing? Do you have a checklist or a process? Can you look at that now?
We certainly can.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Anybody else?
What about on the 27,000, if we tried to renegotiate that price? Because it's kind of, you know, everybody should have been paying more attention to that, so them as well. So if we went back and tried to renegotiate, maybe see if they would come down on that price.
I haven't been involved in that aspect of this Hamilton.
I'm sorry.
And then also under the quotation notes, and I've already talked to Mel about this, they would be charging a 3.5% charge if we used a credit card, but Mel said we would be paying by cash, so that would save that 3.5%.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I had another question. I noticed there's a monthly service plan included of 3 months. Does that mean we'll have to have a service plan after that?
I understand there's a monthly charge, yes, sir.
Okay, so that's not a part of this, that's something that'll be part of the budget then, Mel?
That's correct.
Okay. And how much is that, do you know?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
Okay, I was just curious.
Is it the 810?
I think so, it's about 3 months for 810, or will be a different price?
No, I think it's 810 monthly service plan.
Okay, I was just curious how much more I was gonna cost.
Yes,
Thanks.
So the monthly charge is ongoing.
yes, sir.
I'd like to make a suggestion to the council. I'd like to talk to the salesman, if you don't mind, before we okay this. I have a problem with this.
I know what you're saying, I promise I do, Rich, but this is something we got to have, and we got needed as quick as possible. We just had another spill. If you're gonna talk to the salesman, then I think we just, we need it. We need to go ahead and get it. And whoever was wrong, I can say Mr. Glenn or the city council, whoever's wrong, we need this system. And we need it in place as soon as possible.
Agreed 100%, and that's
Then why
why
don't we get it?
that's why we voted
To get it.
120.
So there, another $27,000, but who made the mistake? We made one, we as a city made one. Let's accept our responsibilities and let's move on. That's my opinion now. We need that, we just had another speed.
You done?
No.
Okay.
And if people here don't realize, if we make a sewage bill and DEP, who's over, Mr. Clean, it's a very, very hefty fine, very hefty fine. So we need this to get in place as soon as possible. Finish that.
You done?
Yes.
Okay, that's the reason why we okayed $128,000 at the council. And that was a unanimous vote, I think it was 5-0. That doesn't make it right that there's been a mistake made, and all of a sudden we're forcing another $27,000 down our throats. I think it's worth, same as Ms. Hamilton said, to sit, talk with the guy. We can do that this week, can we not?
Yeah, I got his phone number, I'm sure we can hook up with him.
I'd like to do it this week, and I'd like to find out if we can make some adjustments. Rather than just okaying another $30,000.
Well, that would be my question to you. What do you think will come out of that meeting? Because we're not here to point, whatever happened, it wasn't in the original quote, these items. So I don't know if they're gonna be willing to negotiate or anything.
Everybody's willing to negotiate. I mean, they have $128,000 in their hands right now. They don't want to give that up. We don't want to pay more. That's a good start. It's up to the council. I mean, that's my suggestion. I've been involved in many of these, and if this stuff happens, we'll take responsibility if we did. But a salesman also has a responsibility as he sells to make sure that we get exactly what we need. I've been a salesman, I know that. It's up to the council.
You know, I think it's worth asking. The worst they can say is no, and we don't know that until we ask. If it's possibly to renegotiate that almost $28,000.
I've asked for permission to sit down with the salesman.
So what if we approve the amount with the stipulation that we have until Friday or Monday for the mayor to discuss this, and if we don't come to an agreement, then we go ahead and move forward with it.
Yeah, well, just how quick can we do this? How quick you can meet this week, but then we're gonna
Today,
have to.
tomorrow.
But I mean, it won't be coming back until the next council meeting unless we call some sort of special meeting.
Well, you can do it contingent upon the
That's
mayor's
fine.
conversation.
I'm open to that. I just want to, I might have made a mistake. We had some questions by that. Thank you, Delaney. Yes, thank you. Come on up.
John Harrell, 43 First Street. My question is, and this is probably for Mr. Glenn, do we have another source for this type of instruments?
Not this particular application.
So if we try to, I can't say that public, if we try to get tough with them, where do we go?
I don't think we have to get tough. We have to explain our situation.
Because, well, as a former salesman of equipment, machinery, load indicator, stuff like that, they came here and we're supposed to supply what we need. It sounds like from out here, we, the city, did not supply the MX1. So how's the salesman supposed to know? He said, we got so many lift stations, this is what it is. So he gives us a price on that. Was he asked to do a survey of the city and go by each lift station? You know, we don't know that. So what I'm hearing is we want to get tough with them, but it's actually our fault.
If you were a salesman coming in here to look at our pumps, would you know how many pumps we had?
No,
You wouldn't?
no, I would have, depend on the city to tell
Before I
me.
had the meeting.
I would depend on the city to tell me, because what if they don't want all of them on the system? That's what, in my opinion, you know, if I'm a salesman, I say, okay, how many do you need? What size are they? Not that I know anything about these pump stations. That's out of my bailiwick. That's just from another point of view. So what I'm saying is, if they don't negotiate, what do we do? If we can't go to another company? And we said, we need them right away. So I'm just saying, please think about this when you're going in that situation,
Sure.
okay?
Anybody else from Anything else on the table?
I think we need to, I'd like to make the motion to give them 29,000. That's what I want to do. And, you know, the rest of you will say that if it's worth it, we'll go for it.
There's a
We'll go
motion
your
on
way.
the table. Is there a
Is
second?
that, do you wanna,
Well, I don't know if
if
you
you
want
wanna
to
read the
put the
motion as it is, you probably
29,000.
need to make a budget amendment motion for 27,977.
What about Mr. Sloan?
Yeah, you're gonna need to amend your budget for that amount of money and be accurate on the amount that you're authorizing.
So it's two motions.
I don't see why you couldn't do it.
29,977.
27,970
27,977.
and amend the budget accordingly.
Okay, want to see it. That's the motion.
I'll second.
Tammy, take a roll.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
No,
Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Wolf.
No. All right. The next thing on the agenda is an update from the city administrator for the financial director applications and counsel for the city administrator.
Thanks, Your Honor. We've got applications in hand for the finance director position, 9 applications. There was not a cutoff date advertised, but it's been advertised for well over a month. So we should probably go ahead and cut that off and proceed. For the city administrator position, there are 19 applicants that we've got as of this morning. The end date is the 23rd of August. And at this point, we would like some direction from the city council, and I think the mayor has some things he wants to discuss.
I do, thank you. I'm gonna pass this out. This is I made a timeline for hiring and also 2 letters. One letter is has to do with, just gonna pass it out. One letter has to do with a thank you and how we're moving forward with the process. And the second letter is a regret letter that we'll basically be handing out as we start moving forward. I had 20 applications, is that not true? Do we know what the number is?
I thought it was 19, we got 4 yesterday, so.
And when I counted, a paperclip must have cut another one or something.
Okay, I had
19.
20 applications. Out of the 20 applications, 12 of them had some type of government attachment or skills. 7 of them were city administrators. 5 of them were either clerks, fire chiefs, business department managers, capital and grant managers. 8 of them were uncommon to the government, but they had management skills, leadership skills, financial skills, and high-level executives. So we've got a pretty good pool there, a very good pool. I made the timeline, and I wish we could have put that up on the screen, but with that not working. What I'm going to ask is that you just take a look at this timeline, see if it's something that works. If not, you need to get back to the city administrator, see if we need to change it. I send them the file, and we can go ahead and move forward. My goal, personally, would be to try to get this put to bed by the end of September. 23rd is our cutoff date. As you go through this schedule, if the 23rd is our cutoff date, we've obviously have 20 in hand, so we've been looking at the applications. We'd have another 3 days to get that down to maybe about 5 or 10, or maybe even lower, 4 to 7, something, somewhere in that area, make an adjustment. Have that done as quick as possible, maybe by the 27th. And then we'd move on to background and screens for the ones we selected out of the 5 or 10, whatever. Maybe we can get that down to 2 to 3, somewhere in there. But it's all, you guys are looking at these applications, making your notes. If you want to, we can do a 1, 2, 3 type thing in the city hall. You come in and grade it that way. Is that, Tammy, is that the way we did it last time? We did a chart, didn't we?
5 or 6.
Yeah, if we want to name those 1 through 5 or 10, whatever numbers you guys want, but we've got to start getting the numbers down. We have an interim city administrator that has not given me an actual date, but his conversation is somewhere about the end of September, maybe a couple days or a couple more days into October, but wanting to move on. I'm going to take questions from the audience. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. How are you going to handle and who is going to handle the background checks this time?
That'd be the same people we used the last time.
Who would that be?
It's active screening.
Axis Screening?
Active, A-C-T-I-V-E, active screening.
Okay. So that's handled
And it's
Out-
nationwide.
out
It's
of
a
house.
Yes, ma'am. It's nationwide, and they go in and check, you know, as far as the addresses and counties that they had lived in for the last 10 years.
Okay, so then the background check does not include information that's available in the public, like news articles on actions that have involved these people. Is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of. They do not go into the
Okay.
media.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else from the audience? At the table?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We want to consider the support of the Florida League of Cities in reviewing these resumes. They offer that as a service. I don't know what it would cost if they would actually have to come here, but it sounds like they would have a better understanding of the requirements and qualifications than we would. And I would ask Mel to look into that so we would know in a day or two to see what they could provide, I guess, to get back to us.
Sure. The League of Cities or?
For the League of Cities. And the gentleman who helped with the charter amendment group, Mark Ryan, I spoke to him about this and he said that they would come here and help and charge us their TDY, their only. But I don't know that we couldn't provide these to that group or to him and use their service, and I think it'd be minimal, if any, cost to screen these initially for us to help us out.
Yeah, I'd like to look at their timeline personally.
Yeah.
See the timeline, if we can make it fit into something that we've already made it timeline.
Right, and that's a good point. And I think the benefit of this is their expertise, and it also, I'd say, it takes some of the neutrality, or being neutral or not. There's no biases, previous relationships going into this.
This is not a voting thing, this is a conversation, so.
It is just a conversation.
Consent, so I think that's fair now, you can call them up and see if that, how long they believe that process would be, if it's a 1 or 2 day process. It may be something we could fit into our window.
Yeah, I like the timeline. I mean, obviously don't wanna rush this is a position. But are you saying, like, for them, do we wanna go ahead and get it down to the handful and then have that look at it? Or are you saying maybe have them look at all 20?
I would say, well, I guess it would depend on their timeline.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, having looked at the resumes, there's several I would
Yeah.
exclude easily, and we could do that. However, I don't think it would take them that much more time to look at all of them. There's only 20 of them. And I just feel pretty confident about their expertise in this and the help. I don't think, none of us have ever been a city manager, except for Jerry and the mayor and Linda, I guess, so except us, we're the two newbies, I guess I was gonna say. But I just feel like it would be, if it fits the timeline, that's the problem. This needs to be done fairly quickly, and if they're willing to do that, I would recommend that we let them screen the initial resumes and give us a recommendation at the top.
Let me
or so.
Let me make a suggestion. I'd feel more comfortable with going down to the August 27th numbers rather before 7th. Let us eliminate. I mean, I don't want, there's some in here that have.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think we could minimize that number, maybe speed up the process by giving them maybe 10 or 15 or 10 or 7.
And this is my opinion, and since we're together, I can say this. My belief is we need somebody with past experience as a city administrator or city manager. We don't need someone who's trying to break into the profession, who's coming from another profession. We don't need somebody learning their job here. I think we need to recruit and hire someone who has a proven track record, a good proven track record. Not somebody, and again, not somebody who's been a city manager and has had issues. And that, if we can determine that or not, that's what I think we're looking for.
I think as you take and break this down, like I said, you get to 12 based on that input right there.
If I could interject, that Mr. Ryan, during the process of the Charter Review Committee, was a tremendous help, and he was representing the ICMA and the Florida City and County Managers Association. And they don't work for a fee, they work for time involved, travel and things of that sort. So if you wish, I can go ahead and contact him today and see what his timeline is, his availability, and work out some details for you.
Yeah, I tell them we're probably looking at sometime thereafter the 27th of August, based on this, us doing some work. But we're down to 12, really. I mean, look, well, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind or anything, I'm just telling you, I went through who had some experience, who had no experience, who had a little bit of experience.
Yep.
There's basically 12 available. If we go through those, look at them and start sorting them out, we might get this down to 5 or 6. So, I'm okay with that. I mean, and I'm sure the table's okay with that. Go ahead and get a hold of them.
Okay.
I'd also talk to the League of Cities.
So we're trying to get us a city manager by the middle of October.
Yeah, end of
Well,
September.
And so then you got 2 weeks or
Yeah.
a month before he can come.
Yeah.
And you,
Depending on
when
their
you try to leave,
availability.
when you spending your time, that means when you leave. When
Well-
you leave.
Like I expressed with the mayor yesterday, on October the 5th, I've got my 50th high school reunion. I'd like to attend.
I want you to go.
You can,
And just openly, the conversation I had with him, I said, that's fine. I says, if it came down to we have to get on the phone, or we have to do a Zoom or something like that, we can still reach out, so we'll keep them on retainer and have to make those calls, depending if we have to get by for 3 or 4 or 5 days. So,
Yeah, and so one other thing before League of Cities offers, and I don't think we'll get in this position, but they do have, city managers that aren't currently employed that are willing to do interim positions that we could, if we got into a real crunch and decided we didn't like any of the candidates or they didn't accept, that's another option I think we can look at.
all right, so just at the table, it sounds like we have a plan. The timeline that I made up here is flexible. If you have something you want to change, get with the city administrator, let him know, he'll communicate with me. Tammy make the changes and we'll go from there, but we have to have some type of schedule so we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we have to get to the 23rd first, that's our first, then we're free to.
Yeah, and hopefully by the 23rd, I would ask that the council have it separated as to where, how many people we have we want to really look at.
One other thing, Mel, you think it's that the ICMA or the Florida League of Cities would have a recommended checklist to look at when you're doing this?
Checklist for,
Looking at city administrators or city managers, something that, you know, like we do with the bids, would they have something we could look at? You know, it's qualifications,
Education.
well, they'll base that on your advertisement, so it's unique to each community.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We have a job description.
Yeah.
Okay. Tammy, do you have anything to add to that at all? Okay. All right. So, we'll get, excuse me?
I was asking Julie if she had something, you know, she's always, her and Tammy, we've been leaving them out, and I think we ought to put them in, what'd you say? Okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
So on the letter, that we would send out basically saying that you don't meet the qualifications, at what point would we send this letter out?
What I'm trying to do is the 23rd is our cutoff date, so I'd like them to mail out that week, or that, right immediately after. 23rd is a Friday, so that Monday they'd be going out, hopefully. And everybody would get a letter of, basically, we received theirs and we're looking at it, and here's the timeline. But then immediately they're following, we start with the regret letter. Okay. Hey, everybody read the letter, we okay with them? Ma'am? Okay, good. So we're good to move forward there. Anything else on that, Mel?
That's all that I have.
We go back to the finance. So what do we decide to do with the finance director position?
Yeah. We need to obviously move on that. I mean, has anybody looked at the applications? I've pretty much focused on the city administrator side. I did go through.
We're kind of waiting until, so we're cutting it off at the 9 line. We're good.
We can cut it off anytime.
So that's the.
It's been over a month, so it really is kind of
Yeah,
time to.
it's time to put it away.
I haven't looked at it. Is there anybody who actually has municipal experience?
There are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we look at maybe a mid-September? We have our next meeting on the 9th. Could we be prepared to talk about that on the 9th? Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mel, you
Meeting
can
on
get
the
that.
10th. Is that what you mean, the day before the real Monday?
Yeah.
Have a meeting and then the regular city council makes a Tuesday.
Get it on, put it on the 10th agenda. And we'll do that. Okay. City, anybody in the audience have any questions about any of this conversation? We're good? All right. The next thing is to set up a budget workshop date and time. I've talked to the city administrator a little bit about August the 20th at 5 o'clock. I want it to be an evening meeting, so we have as much participation as possible. Whether it be 5 or 6, up to the council, if the date works.
What was the original one we had, the
We
26th?
have one set for the 26th,
And then where you wanna do one on the 20th?
before the 26th. Well, because we've already made changes, right? We have a lot of changes made. You guys wanna take a look at them?
So it would just be adding the meeting on August 23rd?
Yes.
That'd be the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then the 26th, we have,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Everybody good with the 20th?
And the time?
5 or 6? I'd like to do 5. We good, 5 o'clock?
5 it is.
Thank you. All right, citizens' comments. Come on up, Andy.
I'm Mitch Coleman. I'm the tournament director of the Mexico Beach Artificial Reef Association's King Tournament, which is our 28th tournament was just concluded the last weekend in July at the city boat ramp and the pavilion. I want to thank the city, the mayor, and council for all the support we got. The city employees, Randy, Pam, they were there constantly Friday, getting everything ready, getting everything set up. We had probably 1,000 people there Friday night. Lieutenant Marty and his crew showed up. They cooked 1,500 hot dogs and sausages. There were 2 left. So we had a pretty good crowd, and we had our best year ever. Net income this year's tournament was just over $72,000. Last year it was 52. So you can see we make dramatic increases the last couple of years. And we couldn't have done that without the support of the city. Tommy, your group, your guys are invaluable. I mean, I think I said this last year, it must be 3 Randy Jews. He's everywhere. But I just want to give thank you so much for your support. Sandy, your guys out there, everything was lined up Saturday morning. Looked like military procession out there. It was very well handled. Mayor, we appreciate you being there on Friday night. And once again, it was a first-rate tournament. The people that came to town, new people that came in here and fished the tournament, were very impressed with our facilities and with the city. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for what you do, Mitch. We appreciate you. Anybody else from the audience?
Mr. Payne might have something?
Payne?
Yes, my name is Brian Payne. I live in Callaway. I'm the owner of ABC Ice Cream. What we do is sell ice cream on the beach with a cart. It's an electric cart, battery operated. We've been in business for 2 months now is all. We've been canvassing Panama City Beach. We have all the permits, food license and so forth. We would like to start selling over here on Mexico Beach if we were allowed. Trying to get a peddler's permit from your Mayor Wolf and the board members. If you have any questions.
You're doing this currently in
Yes, I'm doing this currently. Been doing it for 2 months on Panama City Beach. There's regulations and stuff. We're not allowed to go to the condos and stuff like that. We try to stay close to the water to service the patrons that are on the beach and doing a good job.
And you're doing it by electric?
Yes, I have a photo if anybody, a video, if anybody when you see it. It's an electric cart. It's a cart that you buy online. It's $3,000 for the cart. It's called a Big Kahuna. So it's a named company. It's not going to break down. It doesn't cause any oil leaks or anything like that. Everything is self-contained. There's no contamination.
Noise and everything?
Noise and everything's real quiet. Other than the music that we play, the ice cream music, which that is kind of a old school thing.
yeah. And you keep it cool.
You keep a freezer on there and it runs with a battery and an inverter.
Okay.
The battery is a lithium $200 battery, self-contained. You don't want to get them wet, so we stay away from the water, just 15 feet.
How do you get to the beach?
I bring trailer it out on a trailer, we drop it off with 2 employees. We like to keep 2 employees on the cart in case there is any incidentals. We haven't had any in 2 months. And we don't, I mean, you just walk behind, the cart follows whoever walking it.
But you have to get to the beach with a truck and a trailer.
I can get to the main road, and they walk from the main road down to the beach. We don't drive on the beach at all. I'm allowed to drive on Panama City Beach, but we don't have a need for it. We just use the walkways like everybody else, just if you're going to the beach to set up for a day's event or something.
Any questions for the audience? Yes. Just move to the side there, sir, and she'll ask some questions.
Just remember, if you open this door to one, you open the door to all the other vendors who have asked in the past and who will be asking in the future. Keep that in mind.
Anybody else in the audience? At the table, any questions? Jason, did you have one?
Well, just as far as, I mean, she's correct on that point, but ordinances, anything, what's allowed or not?
This is news to me, so I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, I just crossed it yesterday in my
Oh,
phone.
okay, so we need to
Yeah, I mean,
obviously look
certainly
into some.
insurance requirements, I'm sure you'd have to have insurance.
Yes, sir, I have $2 million in insurance. The Bay County is the official, the person I put on the insurance for Panama City as well. They require that. We have our food license, everything's in order.
Did you go to the city council for a request in Panama City? Did you just
No,
apply?
sir. No, sir, you just apply and then they review your paperwork and it takes about a week and they okay it. I've been okay for the Panama City area.
So you never went in front of the council or anything?
No, sir, this is my first council ever.
Right. Yeah,
From a policy standpoint, Mayor, what Ms. Logan said is you all need to make sure you understand that policy, and then this is more of an administrative application after that. But the policy is what you guys need to decide on.
yeah, we need to look at our own ordinance too, to make sure
Yes, sir.
we're stepping on it. And are we opening up a can of worms for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we've had other applications in the past?
For
Well, for
walking the beach?
Different
Not without-
types of
Probably.
businesses wanting to operate on the beach. It may not be an ice cream, but it's,
So currently, don't we have one vendor?
5.
We have 5 vendors?
There's 5 beach vendors, if I'm not, Mel, you can help me right there with
I
that.
think that's about right.
Two cans, El Governor,
they have to be tied to
that'd be tight, but they're the only ones that have it.
And have- and have
I'm gonna say a beach vendor, they've got his license, so I don't know if this is under something.
So,
Hector's more of the, probably the vendor on the beach than anybody.
Yeah.
And again, what we do is we'd come out at 10 o'clock and we'd be off the beach by 2 o'clock, probably earlier because your area is a lot smaller. It takes us 2 hours to go 4 miles on Panama City Beach, where I see it's only about a mile here, mile and a half. So we're looking at maybe an hour a day to 2 hours at max. But I would like that time zone between 10 to 2, because I don't always get out here by 10. Sometimes I'll show up 11 or 12, something like that.
I think we got time. I mean, you know, it's slowing down. We need to look at,
yeah, we need to.
we need to look at.
And also, there won't be on-beach storage required. He'll take it off the.
Yes, everything I come with on the beach, we take home. And we keep a policy. We also carry trash bags on our carts, an extra gallon of water just in case there is an emergency. But I've been a Boy Scout for 25 years, so I kind of foresee ahead of what kind of needs you would want as far as.
We do have people that do the bicycle, beach chairs, and
Right.
I don't even think they go through us. I'm pretty sure they don't, they just park the trailers and you can rent these beach chairs, and he is trying to come before us where we can at least get something. I know the people running, they from Apalachicola, you see the trucks, fighters. They set up bench chairs and they come back that afternoon and pick them up.
Right.
Yeah, I also own a bonfire company over in Panama City called ABC Bonfires. I know that I'm not allowed over here because there's no fire on the beach, but we do service over there in Panama City and Fort Walton. And we stick with, our company sticks with the policy, clean it better than when you came. So there will be no trash or nothing from us. I mean, as far as maybe ice cream wrappers, I can't control that once the consumer buys them.
All right, good, I think we're done here, we need to do some work. And
Yes.
We'll be back to you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, just so we're square here, Mel, you're gonna look at the ordinance and ruling.
Yes, sir.
Each council person get with Mel, get them your input, and we'll go from there. We'll make a decision at the table at maybe the next meeting, after we get it, everybody has information. Okay? All right, any other citizens' comments?
Can I make a
Go ahead. Yes, sir. As the citizens' comments are closed.
I want to let you know on the note as far as data flow. In the initial process, Garrett and I wasn't included. And when the bid came in and we looked at it, we realized MX1 and water treatment plant was not there. So we kind of came in late. Not to open the can of worms, I just wanted to clarify and let you know. I was asked about the haloacetic acid exceedances. Haloacetic acids are one of two types of disinfection byproducts that combine when free chlorine combines with naturally occurring organics in the drinking water. Haloacetic acids is something we haven't had a real problem with. The chemistry on it is very minute. The limit for total trihalomethanes is 80 micrograms per liter, which is 80 parts per million. The limit for haloacetic acids is 60 micrograms per liter. And the last 2 quarters, we have been well under the limits. The limit last quarter at La Siesta was 29.6 micrograms per liter. The limit at 140 Palm Street, the reading was 47.3 micrograms per liter. But they run this on a long-running annual average. We took the 3rd quarter of last year, which was high, 4th quarter of last year, which was high. We did some investigating in-house and we realized that there were some things that we needed to change. One of the things, 2 things that we can control here in Mexico Beach is the chlorine residual in the system, and we got a really good residual in this system. We can maintain the system to be around 0.5 parts per million going out, which is what the law requires. The law requires me to maintain a 0.2 milligrams per liter out in the remote system. Mexico Beach is a good system. We've never had a problem maintaining it. But we dropped our levels. The 3rd quarter of every year, which is coming up the 1st week in September, will be a sampling event. It is normally when all your numbers, the TTHMs and the HAA5s are at the highest. The reason for this, the factors that affect the formation of disinfection byproducts, whether it be TTHMs or HAA5s, the amount of free chlorine in the water, and the amount of naturally occurring organics in the water. So you'll understand, when you put a spoonful of sugar in the water, it dissolves, you can't see it. The same thing is true when you're treating water. Naturally occurring organics happen in there. You can't see them, but they're there. The things that affect it, again, are amount of chlorine, naturally occurring organics. The other factors that affect it are temperature. Disinfection byproducts increase as the temperature increases. The other factor affecting it is pH. As the pH of your water increases, so does the formation of your disinfection byproducts. The 3rd factor is detention time or water age. We can control the 2 variables that we can control here at Mexico Beach is keeping our chlorine residual the lowest we can and keeping our water age at the best amount of turnover we can. Now, what is unknown is what is the amount of detention time in our 18-inch trunk line between the Bay County Water Plant and here. We did make some changes. We switched labs, and our numbers have been good. Nothing has been over the MCL since we switched the labs. The last 2 quarters, one reading was 27.8. At La Siesta, one was 29.6. The other reading at the first quarter of this year was 31.3 and 47.3. We're trending down, but what's got it is you've got to include the last 4 quarters. And the last 2 quarters of last year, the numbers were high. Does anyone have a question?
We'll have a water test.
Oh, man, on Friday. Timmy might have one for you.
I do have a question. So, Glenn, I have been told that flushing helps this problem. So I'm guessing we flush as much as we need to. That's not.
We have been stepping up our flushing and gradually increasing it, and it has helped. And the reason for the flushing is to keep the turnover in the tank good, keep the water fresh. One of the things we are going to do this quarter, and I clear it with Mr. Mel, is we had an event last year, and the numbers was 130 at one sample site and 131, which is really through the roof. I contacted some people within our system, and they told me, says, when did you sample? I said, December the 7th, I think it was, may have been the 6th or the 8th, but they said, well, we sampled your water at your meter, and our numbers were 30. So I okayed it with Mr. Mel that we catch an additional sample this next quarter, September, first week of the quarter. We catch it there at the meter coming this way, so we can kindly try to ascertain what this gentleman asked me. Is it forming before it gets to us, or is it forming after it gets to us?
Right.
I will tell you this, and I told this gentleman, he talked with me today, that I've never, ever got a disinfection byproduct sample that was at 0. Due to the fact that you're using surface water, free chlorine, and you have naturally occurring organics, you normally got a hit of some kind. But when you start talking about micrograms per liter, it's a very small, and I'm not downplaying it. Science has proved that at some levels they are known to cause cancer in laboratory animals.
So is this flushing expensive, or is it fairly moderate safety?
Mr. Tim, not to give you a short answer, that is a part of our process that we have to do. But no, it's not terribly expensive.
So the other thing I've been told or advised is we're at the end of the pipe, and so everything stops here. It's coming down the pipe. Is that true in your opinion, or is that not? And it leads to the other question: should we have some kind of a loop system?
Our system, for the most part, is loop, but we have a flushing program to flush our dead ends. But the answer to your first question there is, the law requires us to collect these samples at the furthest point in your distribution system. That's why we're at La Siesta and at Palm. That is the most furthest point of our distribution system, which has the maximum detention time. I have no doubt if we sampled up here that our numbers would be lower, but within the system, once these things start to form, they will continue to form. Again, heat, pH, detention time, free chlorine, and amount of organics is what affects it. But good question. But we are required to sample at the furthest point of our distribution system.
So, I'm sorry for taking the time, but so the loop you talked about, how does that work here?
Well, you got, look, I'll give you an example. At 15th Street hooks around to Georgia, and it comes back around to Florida Avenue. What we're talking about, the dead ends are where we're concerned, but we don't sample the dead ends, because most of the dead ends is back up this other way.
So would it help to loop those dead ends back in through the system?
What we're facing as far as our flushing, I think we're sampling in a loop system. I think 2 sample sites are looped.
And I'm not thinking of a sample, I'm really looking at if the worst case, the worst collection, or the worst contamination, if that's the right word, happens at the dead ends, should we look at?
We would only
looping
know
those
that
dead
if we
ends?
sample those.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
But we do flush those, we flush those every quarter.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Plus Sandy flushes, don't you, Sandy? Don't you flush them lines too?
We flush lines on, not on a quarterly basis, but probably every 6 months we'll go out there and flush hydrants more to make sure that they are actually working properly. But obviously at that time, they're working properly because we're flowing oil through them, so yes, we do flush them. But not specifically for that purpose, just for maintenance and our knowledge that they actually are still in a working condition.
One of the things I wanted to say, and whatever council's discretion is, we can sample other places, but we sample what we're required. We're going to take an additional sample, but one of the things that you got to realize, it's a dead end sometimes. The reason we do that is to keep the water fresh. We flush into 2 things until we get clarity and we get a good residual. And again, Mexico Beach is the best system as far as maintaining a residual that I've ever worked for. When I ran the St. Joe system, I'd go to Overstreet, sometimes I'd flush all day and wouldn't get a residual. But I want to clear some of this up. You have a question for me, brother? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Sure.
It's your last name.
Well, it don't matter, I'm still here if you need me.
Good call. All right. All right, moving on to mayor comments. The only 2 things I had down was, code enforcement, the homes that we talked about. Do we have any update on any of them? I know there were some timelines, I think somewhere like August the 9th over on Fortner.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was provided a small little list from our code enforcement officer. It said that the house at 121 4th Street had a completion date of 8/12. He's cleaned up the yard and restacked the items out of view. The house at 409 Fortner has a completion date of September the 3rd. He has already replaced siding that had blown off, painted and replaced boards on the front porch, and the appearance has greatly improved.
Okay, those are the only 2?
That's the only 2 I was given, yes, sir.
Okay.
On the one on Fortner, was there anything on that list about removing that dumpster that's been there for?
There was not.
Can that be added to that list?
It can.
When you say completion, that's permit, they're done? Is that what you're telling me?
That's the timeline they were given to comply.
Oh, that's the timeline we gave.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't ask them to move that dumpster though.
And that's been there for years. And it's an eyesore to people that have built beautiful new homes around there.
You'd have to check with him on that, see what his timeline looks like.
Sure.
We might have to give him one.
So you feel like you have seen significant improvement on the 4th Street? Because I do, walk my dog over there and can't say that it looks that much improved.
Right. What we can do is keep on.
Yeah. And then, what about Georgia, the blue house on Georgia? I know there's been a letter sent to these other houses, notice of violation, but what's the progress on the house on Georgia?
I do not know.
Georgia, it's not Georgia what?
600 Georgia.
Could we ask code enforcement to check that?
Sure.
Spoke to the couple that lives next, well, there's a vacant lot, and then the other couple, I spoke to them on Sunday, and that was the concern about the rat issue. They paid $1,800 to have the rats removed. They said it was like watching kittens in the yard play. There were so many rats. And it's an older couple that have health issues, and I just broke my heart to think that they had spent $1,800 to get rid of rats. And then the house to the other side of the blue house, that family has extended the fence all the way out to the telephone pole so they don't have to see the blue house. And we know sometimes the door is open. Allegedly, they cut the grass. Right now, the grass is way above the legal level and should be cut again. So they're really not staying on top of cutting the grass. And there's a lot of debris and stuff out in that yard. It's very concerning because it backs up to that park where children play, and sometimes the doors are left open. And we do have homeless people that pass through this town. It's very concerning.
Okay.
The door's closed, I ain't seen it open in a while, Miss Hampton, but it might be.
Well, then there's those windows and things too, Jerry.
Well,
Just, what address was that?
600.
600 Georgia, okay. The other thing, any update on our dredge sale?
Well, as you know, we've gone out for bids and not received any. We had a minimum bid of 75,000. Apparently, people aren't willing to spend that much on a used dredge.
Did we get any offers at all?
Yeah, we took that off. It was supposed to be re-advertised as highest and best.
Right.
I say highest and best, but.
At this point, we got nothing.
But it is re-advertised as bring offers. There's no minimum at 75
I
anymore.
understand that's complete now.
Doesn't sound like it's a price thing, it sounds like it's,
Just
nobody wants one, yeah.
Well, it does have a new engine in it. That has some value. At the present time, we're reaching out to the place from which we got the engine to see what kind of value they might think, and they might want that back, you know, for a price, of course.
Is it? Sorry, you finish.
And so, because we've not received any bids through the bid process, perhaps we should consider going to the Florida auction network.
I'd rather do the Florida network before we start piecing it out.
Yeah, they decided to meet with Troy sometime the next couple days to take pictures and try to establish what kind of worth that might have. And then, as you know, they charge something for their services, but that might be the best way
They
to
charge
go.
for their services if they sell it, or they just charge, period?
They charge if they sell it.
Is there, my question would be, is there, I know it's gonna be some cost, some money, but to get that thing to a dry dock and get it out of the water, I mean, it's gotta, eventually it's gotta come out anyway. I mean, I know we're kinda putting that on the people that might bid on it, hey, you come and get it. But for us to move forward, and, cause we may go into a scrapping mode or some sort of other way to deal with it ourselves, is that, I guess it would have to go to Panama City? And I don't even know if it would make it, I mean, you know, those are big questions, but we can't just let it keep flat sitting there.
Yeah, I think we should
Without-
move forward with the
And
auction.
if we go to the auction, that'll take care of it. They have to come pick it up.
I guess we'll get something.
If we don't, then we gotta go to Plan B.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
I think there's a consensus to go ahead and move forward with the auction, that's probably the next step.
Okay.
Next artificial reef.
Yeah. Mitch Coleman still here, maybe so.
Disappeared.
That's the only two things I had on that, so, any council comments?
I was just gonna say, Mel did a great job of giving the weekly report. And I was wondering if you might wanna mention publicly, Mel, about the sewer trunk line effective, August the 19th, where the sewer will be turned off. Can you tell the public a little bit about that so they'll be prepared for it?
Certainly. I did what I could to put in the weekly report. I would much rather Mr. Glenn talk about that because he has that all lined out for us, and as you can hear when he spoke previously, he's much better at it than what I am.
Thank you, Well. Met with Tyndall Air Force Base, the contractor over there, and they're building a new pumping station over there on site at Tyndall. Garrett and I met with him, I think a week or so ago. And they're at the point they're ready to tie a new pump station into our existing line. They anticipate that it'll take an hour and a half to do it, but they said they would allow 3 hours. The plan is our staff to come in, and we may have to utilize some of Sandy's staff, some of Tommy's staff, to come in and start before midnight to pump all of our existing stations down, pump them down by hand. Also, go to the major lift stations, which I think is 14th Street, 6th in Florida, 2nd in Florida, and MX1 and stand by and monitor those things. Not only that, have a vacuum truck here on standby in the event that one of these stations starts to fill. But we're pumping them all down and it'll be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and hopefully we'll make a public notice and just advise the citizens to be limited to what they can do. But he said he thought he could do it in an hour and a half, but give him 3 hours, he'd do it again. We'll monitor. In the event we have to pump a lift station down, we will piggyback it and come back in our system to one of the smaller stations that doesn't use much, to save having to take it to Panama City, because if we had to do that, it would be a moot point if we're having problems with it filling up. That is the plan. Garrett will meet with those guys, I think, the 15th. I had expressed to Mel and them if any way I could help and needed my assistance, I'd be glad to help.
And did y'all mention a date?
The 19th.
19th? Thank you.
I'm sorry if I didn't say that. That's the tentative plan.
And you said the hour was like 1 a.m., about 1 a.m.?
Yes,
1
ma'am.
to 4.
We're gonna group up before then, go ahead and start pumping the stations down. As a matter of fact, I told Garrett that maybe this week we could do a little test run on our stations. Being the day, it's not gonna be the same because flows are much higher during the day, but just to get an idea, be sure all our pumps are up and running, everything's in good shape. That when I checked on it last week, we checked on it again this week, be sure everything is operational. Try to have everything in order as much as we can. This is something that we have to do.
And then you said, kind of as a backup, there would be a vacuum truck that will be standing by just in case the lift station begins to fill
Yes,
to a
ma'am.
level of danger. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Glenn.
So tell me, would that be, would that be also announced on the website? So everybody will know to expect that, okay?
Right. I know at 2 in the morning, I will not be adding anything.
Good contribution.
You need to keep living, get a little older, that might happen.
That's right.
2 o'clock.
All right, any council comments?
Yes, sir. So I handed out a packet for you guys, just for your review. If you have questions, go through Mel and I'll try and answer, I guess. That's the CDC budget for 2025. And you'll see a breakdown of beach management, which is essentially what they do for Mexico Beach: canal support, park support, public safety on the beach support. And I'll just make one note that our budget for 2025 has gone down $20,000-$30,000 from last year. And Mel, did you recently contact them on a request?
I did not.
Okay, so I asked Mel, recommended that he look at requesting what they budgeted to us so that we can get that. One of the things I was told at the last budget meeting, when I asked why they reduced our donation, was that we hadn't used what we have this year, so they didn't think we needed it. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. The 2 pie charts on the back just kind of show, when you look at how much the city actually gets, I think, in support from the CDC, it's about 38%, including the $400,000 that they're saying they need for beach renourishment for us. If you take that out, it's about 7% of their budget. And I'm not saying they don't give us enough, I'm just indicating that out of their $1.25 million budget, I think we're gonna get about $86,000 in support. And part of that support is they have a grant writer that helps with grants and things here. If you have questions, let me know.
The prior year being 140, dropped it down to 86.
Yeah, but some of that is, we got the beach rate last year that was included in that 140, which was about $12,000, and a couple, I think the grant writer's cost went down over time, so it's not just all reduction of support.
Okay. So the message that I hear is if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's the message I got.
Okay. So I would encourage the city administrator to be looking at that and our group to make sure that we're spending that money by the end of the year.
And I do believe this is gonna be a tough year for them because of the $27 million beach renourishment and everything's going to that. So, anyway.
Then I'll try to cut the
But,
costs.
yes, what I've been told is in the past, when we've asked for things specifically, they've been really good about helping, like the beach trip.
That's true.
So, that's that. On the CPI grant, the Coastal Partnership Initiative that we're looking at for the beach walkovers, that should be out shortly. I need to update you that it can only be used to make, it has to be ADA compliant. So I don't know if all those walkovers are ADA compliant, I doubt it. And so I don't know if we can use it for all those, for extending all those walkovers. We need to do a survey, and I'll talk to Mel about that. And I think we're gonna need some engineering support. What I do recommend we look at is if it turns out that none of those are ADA compliant, or maybe one or two is, if those are the ones that are ADA compliant, those are the ones we focus the grant on. And if not, then we look at one or two locations to build an ADA compliant walkover in itself. So more to follow on that, and I'll work with Mel, and January is working on it, she'll work the grant. So more to follow on that. Questions about that?
I have one thing, when you're just figuring out things that they might be helping the city with, the pickleball court folks, it's in our budget for $21,000 to put up the white plastic slats. I know that a lot of tourists also use those pickleball courts. I don't know if that would be possibly something that they could help with, and we could reduce our budget on that
I know we're
concern.
meeting Thursday, I can ask the
Okay,
question.
okay. And I have some further information if you need it.
Okay.
Check into that.
All right, any other questions?
Did you say that the walkovers we have now are not in compliance with ADA?
I don't know, Jerry.
That they are. That they had to be, because FEMA now. Every one of them is ADA.
Okay, I just want to confirm that.
Yeah.
We can look.
Yeah, okay, the next item, the P and Z met and talked about the St. Joe parking lot. And there was a lot of discussion, I don't know if you watched it. I have a recommendation, and I've asked Mel if he can talk to St. Joe. I don't think you've had a chance to do that yet.
2 o'clock this afternoon?
Okay, so here's my recommendation I'd ask Mel to look at. To see if you look at the PUD for Canal Parkway west for St. Joe, they have planned a parking lot, a permanent parking lot next to the pavilion, so just west of the pavilion, and a road that would come down from Highway 98 through behind all the current houses on Canal Parkway to a permanent place. That would require a bridge across Salt Creek. So here's my recommendation, I think it makes more sense. Don't put that parking lot on the elbow, the corner of Canal Parkway. Build it down there on the beach, or next to the beach, where they're planning to have a permanent parking spot for their housing and apartment and hotel center. And make an access through the current little bit of parking we have, that's the dirt parking on the next to the pavilion. It looks to me like it's possible, and of course they would have to do the DEP permitting, and it might take longer, but I think that would solve the problem of people having to walk from that distance and walking in the road. It's a temporary solution, so because they have planned to build a condo or a hotel or something in that parking lot. So that's my recommendation. I guess you're meeting at 2 o'clock to talk about it.
Just to speak, it got pulled off the agenda, so I wasn't planning on talking about it, but you brought it up. So St. Joe has a planned parking lot in their pub.
They do.
So the citizens and everybody came to us. I wasn't here, I was at the meeting, I wasn't on the board. And they wanted a temporary solution. We gave it to St. Joe, they were under the heat, and so this is what they came up with. And now here we are, in this little bit of an uproar of, you know, they did what they were asked to do.
So,
So I don't know where it got sideways when they offered this. I mean, it's like, okay, well, I understand it's on Canal Parkway, it's gonna create traffic. So do we just tell them just to scrap it for now until they build their parking lot that they were gonna build?
If you do that, that's the fear that you have. I mean, they're building the homes right now. They're building, they did a temporary parking lot for now. Their permanent parking lot could be 5 years away.
Yeah, but now we're saying we might not want the temporary, I mean,
Well, we
it's been
cannot
pulled
want it
off
for
of
5
the.
years.
Yeah.
so, this is my opinion, I wasn't on the council, and Linda, you brought this up. My impression was we were asking St. Joe to build this temporary parking lot further west, across from the apartments or the townhomes, down one of those trails. And I understand the difficulty, because if you look at that terrain, they would have to get DEP permitting, maybe build a bridge, there's a swamp, kind of lowland area in there. So, tell me if I'm wrong, I think that was the initial desire. And what they came back with is probably the most feasible, economical way of doing it. And I'm not saying that we don't fall back on that. What I'm saying is, they're already planning to build a permanent parking lot of like 50+ spaces down by the beach, next to the pavilion. Why not go ahead and do that? It could be temporary, it could be gravel, but it's a better location, and I think they can access it. Let's ask them to do that instead of this kind of halfway. It's not gonna solve the traffic issues for coming and going out of Canal Parkway. But I think there's some solutions, traffic solutions that we can do to that. So it's not, we're still gonna have residents on Canal Parkway that are gonna be concerned about the vehicle traffic. But I think you'll have a better location, it's closer to the restrooms, it's on the beach, so you don't have to have kids in carts walking down. That road is already bad for traffic anyway. I don't think, even though there's a sidewalk on the canal they could use, and there's a ADA walkway right there across from that parking lot, I don't think people are gonna use it. They're gonna probably walk down the street mostly. So all I'm suggesting, my recommendation is, and I think Mel's already doing this, is to talk to St. Joe to see if they could put that parking lot where they're planning to do one at some point in their phases. You know, it might be 5 years from now, and it could be a gravel parking lot and still meet the same requirements. But I think it's a better location than.
No, I don't doubt that, just conversation here, but I remember coming to those meetings and the St. Joe rep, and I'm not backing it, came and kind of, he didn't just spring this on, so to speak, onto the county. You know, there was some talks of like, this is our idea, and he was given the approval to continue moving forward with this temporary lot. And I know it's not the best. I wish they put the lot where they were going to put it to begin with.
Yeah, but Jason, I think here's one of the problems, and this is our fault as a council. I think we gave them this requirement, and then they went out, and I don't know if we got any feedback in between, and then it was boom, here's the spot it's going to. Now, tell me if I'm wrong.
That's what I was thinking, we had feedback.
Oh, we came from phase one where they were supposed to build a parking lot. They never did.
And so,
We got into phase two, we rejected phase two.
right.
Said
But-
no. And the reason why is we wanted a parking lot and we wanted a walkway.
But I guess what I'm saying, Mayor, is I'm not aware of, once they agreed to put in the parking lot, that we had any discussion on where it was going, and I thought
Correct, they were coming back to us, which they've done,
they've done.
too late.
And I don't think this is the best location, and I don't think it was the initial intent. And so, to answer your question, Jason, I don't know what the previous city administrator, his involvement with this location or what them planning was.
No, I'm just looking back, and I obviously would need to look back at some meetings, but I thought just St. Joe had already come back and said, this is the site we're looking at.
I don't
I didn't think they dumped it into our lap here at this last minute.
No, they have, that's exactly what they've done. They said, this is where we're gonna put it, and then the conversation, that's why it's at P and Z.
Because I have questions, I mean, now we're discussing it, I mean, my deals was like easements through our property and things like that, that was more, but like I said, they got pulled and, but now we're talking about it.
I don't wanna make this any longer than I have to, but I do wanna add one other thing. I think we as a council failed to give the P and Z the guidance or direction they needed when they met. They didn't know what to do with this. They just got handed it and they decided to table it and ask additional questions. I don't know what additional questions they're going to ask, but I would say the council has done this to the P and Z before where they're given problems and I don't know they have enough direction. And
Tell me a street on the south side that you can go down and there's plenty of room parking.
there isn't one.
There's not one. Canal Street has slips going down for boats that people need to access. It has a pavilion down the end where citizens need to go to. It has beach access, major beach access. They're putting in 62 lots. Maybe we need to limit the parking that's on the street and allow the parking to go away. Hopefully P and Z will come up with a solution, but
I don't think there's
that's not the same street as a 27th Street, going down 27th Street, all houses. That thing needs that, and we need to have, our citizens need to access that area.
Yeah. Oh, no disagreement.
I don't disagree with it, it's not, I just thought, I was just looking at the progression of how this lot came about, and, you know, now we're kind of, looks like we're gonna go back to square one, and, you know,
Well,
with some new ideas.
I think P and Z's asked for some good, they want some feedback, they want some other alternatives, so let them fight that out and see if they can get something that come to the council.
I think what I was hearing from the P and Z meeting was, that parking lot that we owned, they were gonna have a parking lot beyond that.
That's
But
correct.
that would mean the cars would have to drive through that to get to their parking lot. But I also was under the understanding that we have a grant for the kayak launch right in that corner, and we were thinking we would use that lot for people to park there. So that lot is spoken for, so why would that even be an option for them to go through that lot to get to the other lot?
Well, they had mentioned during the meeting that there might be some areas south of our lot that they could go through without needing an easement from us at all. But that's,
Dean and easement.
right, so that's
what I
to be
understand.
determined, yeah.
And you know, when we asked, why can't you just come from 98, I felt like the engineer who was not totally prepared, and I know Chris Short normally speaks in that area, but you know, he was really grabbing at straws when he said they couldn't come from 98 because wetlands and beach mice. I mean, he was really grabbing at straws when he said that's the reason we can't come from 98.
Let me take a question from the other.
Lisa Logan. If it is my recollection that when we initially said to St. Joe, we need the parking lot, at that point, we did tell them that it needs to come off of 98. That was initially told to them. So that was the whole mess the last P&Z meeting. Suddenly, here they are with a parking lot that's using Canal Parkway and the city's parking lot, when we told them it has to come off of 98. Because that's the whole point. So perhaps there's miscommunication, but it's something else. They don't want to do it. They're using the excuse that they can't put another entry off of 98 because there has to be X amount of footage between the roads. Well, we all know that that doesn't necessarily hold true because DOT told us they couldn't put the second road in there by the boat ramp road. And then suddenly, there it was. So that doesn't hold water. going through Canal Parkway is what people object to, and rightfully so. So the parking lot down at the very end by the pavilion, the plans, yes, that's been on their future plans, but that's in the future. That's not anything that's gonna happen in the next 5 years. So if they're going to build a parking lot, it needs to have an entrance off of 98. It's still gonna complicate things. St. Joe simply does not want to deviate from their own plans. So
it was said, that's what I needed.
it was, to my recollection, it was said, you need to come off of 98.
That's all I need to know, I mean, if it's.
Well, Jerry says
I say
no.
No. I was here, and we asked him, let's tell you, they was going to phase one like the mayor said. We asked him for a temporary parking lot with all what they had built, not to come off 98.
And beach access through a wall.
And they could walk, Doug was in, they remember Doug wanted to walk from the boat ramp under the bridge when they could park there and walk with the ADA on the sidewalk down to the beach.
I could be mistaken.
Where we're at.
All right, well, it's in P and Z's hand. If you, obviously, we have some input, get from Mel here, P&Z. If there's any additional, do the same.
Just one more thing. Mel, could you include an update on some of the grants in your next update or shortly after on the kayak grant, the kayak launch site, the pedestrian bridge, the pier, and the municipal building, and the Moby mats, where are we at on those?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm done there.
Anybody else?
Do we actually have the Moby mats somewhere in storage available, but it's just,
We do.
okay, but they're just sitting there?
Well, I think it's been brought up that Tim said with the new renourishment, we were gonna
Okay.
kind of
Wait that out.
see how the dune was gonna work.
I didn't say that, but that was Chris said that.
Chris said that.
Hopefully while that's done, we'll have an answer though, what to do. All right, anybody else in detail?
I got a couple of things.
Okay.
Tommy, you did a good job on the grass cutting, the procedure looks good. Mr. Glenn, when do you think we can get them alarms, goes on the sewer? Can we put a rush on this?
Looking at 60 days.
I know this, if I can get, if I can't get enough, but I recommend us paying you a little extra money, not to stay, but for your advice to help carry it out, would you accept it?
I just don't know what I can.
Garrett, do you know what he said a while ago when he got up and spoke about the micro stuff? You do nothing?
Yeah, what it is,
Somebody's got it.
that was 50 years of experience talking to you.
You ain't lying.
That was a college, terminology was a college terminology, and you talk to me, I'm gonna give you a first grade terminology. It's gonna, at the end of the day, it's gonna mean the same thing.
He knows what he's doing.
Right,
Don't worry about it.
Thank you, Garrett.
Yes, sir.
That's me.
Anybody else?
I was gonna say, for Garrett, I've been pursuing a little bit more about you coming onto your job as new.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've checked with Lorraine Lindsay, you know, she's a citizen here that's a valuable resource because she's done that type of work in her
Yes, ma'am.
career as an engineer. And she is willing to give you her phone number so you can also use her as another resource person.
Okay.
And she's also given a list of some possible classes and things that you can attend, and there is money in that budget for that. So
Okay.
that would be a great, you know, form of education. We want you to be able to do the best you can do in this new job.
Yes,
And
ma'am,
the
I
more
appreciate
resources you can tap into, I think the better.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I'll give this to you after the meeting.
All right, moving on here. Any staff comments? City attorney, anything?
No, sir.
City administrator?
Oh, you betcha.
Go.
Well, most of the stuff were hit by council comments, so, you know, you folks are on it, so I appreciate your involvement. As you all know, the beach renourishment project starts on October the 15th. Everything has to be out of the way and off the beach for them to start. You can recall that back in May, the city council had approved the debris removal project on a not to exceed the amount that FEMA is reimbursing us. The bid came back, as you know, over $1 million. FEMA reimbursement is $300,000. That's a problem. Two completely different figures. So, trying to pick up the slack when I got hired temporarily, been working with the contractor to maybe hit some of the higher points that are out there that may create the biggest problems. He's trying his best to whittle down his things to not to exceed that 300,000. So he's well aware that October 15th is a hard and fast date that cannot be changed. So we're trying to work with the engineers and him to try to get this project moving on, to hit some of those high points.
Reality is it's probably not gonna happen.
He said there's some problems getting people here quick enough to get it done. So we're working through all that with the engineers.
So I think what Mel is trying to say, is explaining is that debris removal has to be done before the beach renourishment. They can't be happening at the same time.
Right, so we'll see what we can do. If we can't get it done by October 15th, then we'll just have to let that.
We need to keep an eye on him, and we need to make a decision if he's not gonna move forward. I mean, once he comes with a plan.
Right. Exactly. Also, I wanted to let the public know, I let the city council know that because Mr. Glenn's last day is today, who's going to take over, and I think by now you figured out that Mr. Garrett Garland is the, shall we say, the lady in waiting all this time. When Garrett got his certifications, he scored exceptionally well on his test, which is much higher than normal. So with your short expertise that you learned from Mr. Glenn, we hope that you carry on that tradition. Mr. Glenn has always said that he's available to help at any time, but there might be some times in which we might need him. For instance, Garrett's probably going to go on vacation at some time in the future. We need someone to be, no vacation, okay. We need someone to take over. So at which time Mr. Glenn would come back and actually be on site for those days, we would actually pay him, of course, for his time.
That's good. And I've kind of brought that up before. We briefly touched. Have we talked to him? Do we have like a structure for Mr. when he comes back, like a pay rate, just so we don't have to go through that process when we need him? Have y'all talked anymore?
We figured it'd be commensurate to what he's making now.
Yeah, that's.
Converted an hourly rate.
Yeah, I don't want to shortchange the poor guy.
No, I don't either. Usually consultants make, they make more.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is, you know, we changed the charter recently by the vote of the public. And there's some factions out there that think that the city administrator has too much power. I wanted to take a few moments to say that I don't think that's the case. One thing I do urge the council to do is when you consider my replacement, that person is a member of the ICMA. Because as a member of the ICMA, of which I'm still a member, of course I pay the reduced rate as a retired guy, we have a code of ethics that we must follow. And if we don't follow those code of ethics, we could be censured by the International City County Managers Association. And what that means is if we do something that's contrary to the code, they can vote their board to do that censure process. That means it goes to the local newspaper, it gets letters sent to all the council members that you have a city administrator that's acting contrary to the code of ethics. There are 12 tenets to which we have subscribed. I'm not going to read all 12, of course. But I wanted to make sure that the public understands my real role here in this seat. One of the biggest things is we refrain from all political activities which undermine public confidence in professional administrators. And what that means, I can't have political signs in my yard. Of course, I live in a condo, it's not going to happen anyway. But, you know, just to make sure that we're on the up and up, I don't sign petitions. I don't give contributions to any candidate. And there's some talk that maybe I could, but I definitely couldn't be involved in any of your campaigns at all. If I were to give Mayor Wolf a contribution, that would be a major violation. One thing we do is we submit proposals to elected officials and provide them with the facts and technical and professional advice about policy options. And we collaborate with them in setting the goals for the community and the organization. That means what happens is not the call of the city administrator, it's the city council. The last item I want to do is say recognize that elected representatives are accountable to their community for the decisions they make. And the members, which is me, are responsible for implementing those decisions. In other words, I don't call the shots. Y'all call the shots. Give you a big example. When it comes to the Smigelski household, who do you think holds more power in the family? Spoiler alert, it is not me. Amen. It is my wife. And, you know, I've been married for 44 years now, so I've obviously learned that lesson. But I help in her policy decisions. So you could equate her to the city council and me to the old dog Mel here. Let's assume she says that tomorrow is Saturday, I need you to clean out the garage. And then I say, well, I kind of wanted to mow the lawn, but you know, let's throw the garage in there. So we agree. So Saturday morning comes around and she says, what's your plan? And I say, well, we agreed that we were going to clean out the garage and mow the lawn. She said, okay, so what's your plan? Well, we're going to do those things. No, what's your plan? The plan is, at what time in the morning you're going to do it? Are you going to mow while it's cool in the morning? Or are you going to mow in the afternoon when it's hot? You can clean up the garage now. So that's the plan. And so that's what I do sitting in this seat, is once I get direction from the city council, I carry it out. It's between me and the peanut gallery over there to get things done. So I just wanted to make that clear that I don't have the power that people think I do. That's all I have, Your Honor.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
I have one question now, like the changes that were made in the charter due to the last election, have those already been like approved by the Florida State Legislature? What is the next step, Tim? Like after it's been through an election and this charter changes, then what do we, does it have to be filed some kind of way with the state to make it legal?
I would assume it was sent to the state, yes.
That's the process, yes.
So has it been done or not done?
I wasn't here, I don't know.
County, you know, and
It is. Yes, we have submitted it to American Legal. They are responsible for updating our charter. And then, Julie, do they send it to the state or will we?
I think once we get it back, we have to forward it to the state. I got the final proofs of it, just like Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So the new updated version should be coming out. It should be in the mail to us. We should have it any time now so that we can get it filed. So
We
it's in
had
the
to
works.
update the charter with the new referendums in there. And American Legal did that, so.
But that's a different animal than the state
Yeah, but once we,
approving the ratifying what the electorate did. I mean, American Legal, they're no different than if you just hung a sign out on the sidewalk with all the codes on it. They're just performing a service. They're not looking at it from, did it comply with the law?
Right. Once we get that back from them, then we send it to the state.
Yeah, regardless of what you do with them, you need to send it, the actual, vote, the actual language that was approved, that needs to go to the state.
So that has not been done?
That has
Well,
not
that's
been
the
sent to
question.
the state.
It has not been sent to the state?
We just got it back on Wednesday.
But I thought what the lawyer was saying was we didn't have to wait for that.
Good time to say it is right now after we already did it. I mean,
But
that's
I'm
where
just
we're,
saying.
yeah, but that's where we're at. We got it Wednesday,
Right.
because that's the procedure we used. Was it the right procedure you used? Maybe not.
Okay.
But we're here Wednesday, we're gonna send it out. Anything else? Okay. Just the last thing I wanna say, it's just the budget's going well. Mel's made the corrections he needed to make. The council, personally, have seen him. I went in the office. I've watched him sit down with Adrian and Mel at the same time, page by page, going through the budget. So these guys are doing their job, there's no doubt in my mind, I appreciate that. City administrator, another job you guys need to do, the 23rd is the ending date. When that ends, hopefully in the 3 days, the 27th, you can get down to some type of list of how many you want to put through or look at. There has to be some eliminations, I think. Unless you want to look at all 20 of them that long, but we need to get that accomplished, start dwindling at the list. Financial, director, we want to take that as far as the next meeting on the 10th, excuse me, not the next meeting, September the 10th, and we'll look at that as far as where we're at and next steps for that. But the top things on the table right now for the council is the budget and city administrator. We need some concentration in that area, and we need to make progress. We're not forcing it, we just have to do our job, make sure we get the right person. Not anything else, we'll go ahead and ask for an adjournment.
Second.
So be it. Thank you.